Welcome, everybody. People are funneling in. It's wonderful to have you here. This is Lauren Bailey. I'm the founder of Factor 8. And I'll turn it over to my esteemed colleague to introduce himself as well.
Hi, everybody. I'm Erik Fowler, the Chief Revenue and Operating Officer at Allego, and I'm excited to be here today.
And you're also excited. Do you mind if I just out you for a second? What are you doing right after this
Yes,
webinar? Just in
you,
case
you
he's not here for the last slide,
you
folks.
can out me. If this goes over long and you see me taking off my jacket and running out the door, you know why. My son, who's been deployed with the Army National Guard in Djibouti, Africa, actually arrives at 3:30 today, so he's an hour away from me, or 3 to 3:30. So as soon as this is over, I will be jumping in my car and driving to see my son, who I have not seen in 9 months, and who's been supporting all the crazy stuff we got going on in this world.
That's so exciting. I'm just thrilled for you. And it's really fun to see some familiar faces and names in our attendees. Thank you, everybody. I'm going to ask you to open up your chat because we love to have some interaction throughout this. We'll ask you a few questions as we go along. Erik and I are, friendly chatters, and it's hard sometimes to do this in a one-way medium. But I'm so happy to see my friend Nicole and Jason and Kyle and Burmeister. Good to see you here. And Christy, who's clearly sent this to her entire team. You're here 87 times, which is super cool. So we're going to start with a little fun chat. Tell us what city you're in, and then tell us if you've been to any sales shots before. If this is your first Virgin shot, we will celebrate you, or if we'll see who's been to as many before. There he is in Castle Rock. This is great. Yay, Boston. Here we go, everybody. This is great. Phoenix, hey, wonderful. It's a
Hey.
hot one today. We've been doing well for summer weather until today, which is icky. Few shots for Julie, Post
I think
Falls,
I saw
Idaho.
Spain go by the way. Did I see that? That might be the furthest.
Wonderful. Bienvenidos. That was, can I take that back? That was horrible. Sorry. Welcome in Spanish. Forgive me. All right. So, as you guys let us know where you're at, and if this is your virgin shot or you've been to tons more, we will get this party started. Erik, are you ready? Born ready. Here we
Hey,
go.
Lauren, I have
All
to
right.
be
So,
honest. I was a little nervous when we were doing these shots because I noticed there were 10 and I'm like, are we really going to be able to do 10 shots? And when I realized it wasn't alcohol shots, I'm like, all right, I
we're
can do
okay. Yeah,
this.
we're okay.
We're good.
Uh,
We're good.
I met somebody when I was speaking at a conference last month who was like, "We get our whole team together in the conference room and watch these," and I'm like, "And tell the truth, are you doing shots?" She's like, "Well, I can't tell you because my boss is here." But yes, this is the sales shots. It's a series brought to you by Factor 8. I'll tell you more about it in a second. If it's your first time joining us, Factor 8's been around 18 years. Here's some of the distinguished logos that are part of our family. We do inside sales training for reps and managers, and we think we've really cracked the code on adoption. So I'm going to share our secrets. Erik's going to share their secrets. Erik, introduce who you're with and your level of expertise, but you only
Yeah.
have a minute to do it. So sorry you don't get the whole, there's so
No,
much.
no, I'll go fast. I'll do my best. I don't do very good with that. Again, Erik Fowler, Chief Revenue and Operating Officer here at Allego. You know, we're the leader in the revenue enablement space, and I have to congratulate all of you because you guys are enablement enthusiasts. And I use that term specifically because I'm watching enablement go from really enthusiast to must have, need to have. It's how you differentiate your company. And with Gartner coming out with their first Magic Quadrant towards the end of last year, I think enablement has crossed the chasm. And so I think it's an exciting time for all of us who've probably been doing it a lot longer than some other people. So it's an exciting time and looking forward to sharing some best practices and some of the stuff that we've learned through partnering with our customers.
Love that. Erik and I were joking about how old we are and the gray hair and the glasses and everything before you guys joined. But with that comes some wisdom. In fact, when I first started, it was still called training. And I moved it from my company from HR under sales, which, I'm going to just go ahead and give myself credit for starting the enablement revolution. That's just egotistical and rude. But it was before enablement existed. So I love that it's crossing the chasm too. And what a differentiator it makes. I told you I'd tell us about shots. Every month, Factor 8 does this. We rotate between really tactical rep content to help with prospecting and other virtual sales skills. We talk to managers and making them better coaches and leaders. And then we also talk to our friends in enablement. So we vary around. And if you go to factor8.com/shots, you can sign up for some of our next ones every single month and free and tip rich. Best practice, shout out to Christy, get the team together. watch it together, but make sure you book time afterwards to talk about implementation. Because when we just watch a webinar, nothing gets adopted, which, surprise, surprise, is the conversation we're having today. I'm also going to share quick research that fabulous Amy Wunderlich did on the Factor 8 team. This was done in Q4 last year. Reps, managers, leaders, enablement folks, and we asked the questions everybody's afraid to ask. And here's one of them. What's frustrating you about enablement, leaders? And they said, it's not a lack of effort. It's not a lack of content. It's not a lack of training. It's a lack of impact and adoption. So with that, we're going to kick it off. You can scan this to get the whole study. In fact, there's 3 or 4 of them. We even asked reps, how long do you work when you're working from home? And we got an honest answer. So look through the research for that.
I
Okay,
think I might
so
need to know the answer to that one.
I don't think you want to know. Yeah. Also, the number of managers that are feeling burnout. That's a toughie. That's a toughie too. So here we go. Shot number 1. We're starting with the problem. Why does adoption fall apart? Because y'all work so hard to put together great programs, and we just saw it from the leaders. There's a lack of adoption, and that is really frustrating. So I'm going to ask first in the chat, is anybody struggling with this right now? Give me a 1 through 5 rating. 1, like, nope, nailed it. 5 going, yes, please, it's killing me with adoption. And Erik, I'll have you kind of start. You've got a story I know that you want to share about adoption.
Yeah, it's funny. Like if you look at the bullets here, there's a lot of reasons that adoption falls apart. But I think the one key one is executive alignment. And we've literally been in sales cycles where we might be with just a small part of the revenue enablement team, and they don't understand why I'm insisting, hey, I need to talk to the CRO. I need to talk to the CO. We need to have these conversations. And I explained to them, if we don't have executive alignment, all the great work you're going to do, it's just not going to happen. It's not going to be followed through. And maybe you're one in a million that can make it happen, but for most people, you got to have that alignment. We've actually walked away from deals. Even last quarter, I flat out said, look, if you guys aren't willing to get some executive involvement, then we're probably not the right partner for you. And the reason we do that is because I know you're going to get to the end of year 1 and you're going to go, hey, people didn't adopt it and I'm not seeing the value. So all these things are important, but number one, my opinion, and this is my opinion, is executive alignment.
We were on a sales call yesterday, a company looking to bring in training for prospecting, and they didn't have their sales leader hired yet. And I said, this is great, happy to talk to you, but let's talk once your sales leader's here, because there's no sense starting this without them. It's just not going to live. So this is especially hard for enablement teams. I know that these feel like sandboxes sometimes. There's a lot of, let me say it this way, there's a lack of partnership, and it's not enablement's fault. So my sales leaders, I'm talking to you and it's true. It can be frustrating. We speak different languages. And so we're hesitant to bring them in, especially with a partner who's not vetted yet. We don't want to look bad, but it makes your job 10 times harder. So we start with the executive alignment, and that's a conversation about goals, a conversation about how we measure success, a conversation about how do we align to make your life easier and to help you look good. And nobody's going to say no to that meeting, right? And then we bring them in and get them involved. That's why Subway's still in business. People like to build their own sandwich and get involved in what it is, right? So we see, let's go through some of our other bullets here, right? Tools, training's the same way, right? You launch strong and then it fades. Is that always due to executive alignment, Erik, or what are some of the other reasons that things fade? And feel free to join in and chat and tell us what you think.
Yeah, it's I think there's multiple reasons. I think it starts with the executive alignment, but there's people get pulled in so many directions. And it's hard to make sure things are top of focus. That's why I do feel if you have the executive alignment, it's not going to get kind of put in the corner and forgot about. But even with executive alignment, sometimes other priorities come in. So I think
Always.
the biggest thing is to make sure you continue to follow up, to stay on top of people. And I know we're going to talk on one of the other shots about the important role that managers have, and I'll save my stuff for that one.
No, 100%. Blaze has a really good point in comments that speed does it too. We think sometimes, especially, listen, I did, I'll speak for myself as an enablement leader. It was like, look, this won't take much of your time. We're just going to quick do a really fast rollout meeting. Like you feel like you're doing the right thing by taking less time. And it's actually the opposite. It's also our job to help keep the focus through executives, through managers, through communication teams, through intranet updates, et cetera, because other priorities come up. And I'm just going to say it, enablement isn't on fire, but deals are. I was part of an international launch team with IBM, and we were launching call centers around the world. And the rest of my international team consistently got woken up at 2 a.m. Right. And I was like, sorry, there's never a training emergency. That's never on fire. And I don't get the 2 a.m. calls. However, we sometimes wish that it was, right? If other people could feel the urgency behind what we're doing with our tools or with our training. I see Erik is frozen, and I hope it's not me that's frozen. So somebody give me a
Yeah.
chat if you've
Can you
lost.
guys hear me, by the way?
There, we've
Still?
got you. Yes. And you
All
look
right.
lovely.
I
I
know that
never
is like,
freeze looking good.
it's never frozen in a nice position. It looks like
No,
I'm
you look
sleeping.
great. I'm usually like, but you look very
I'm,
peaceful. All right. Let's move on and because we're going to come back to all of these tips and fixing them, okay? How do you know it's not working? And some of these we've got. I'd love to see if anybody has other key indicators in chat so we can help each other through this. But if we're talking about tools, right away we can tell by low usage. So whatever you're implementing, make sure there's a weekly check-in on that dashboard with adoption rates or login rates so you get some key indicators that people are or not using this, right? Week completion rates is the same for training. We use a blended approach. And before we get to the workshop, everybody's supposed to have taken the e-learning. Who's logged in? And even more than that, who's completed it? You're also going to get a clue, of course, on reinforcement. When you quit hearing about it in the huddle, in the team meeting, when they're coaching back to regular things instead of the new skills you rolled out, there's your sign, right? Engagement goes high to low in a heartbeat. And of course, the lagging indicator here is nothing's changing. Did I miss anything here?
no, I think you guys can still hear me, right? I just
Yep.
still see
Yep.
myself frozen. No, I think you hit it on the head. The one that sticks out for me, and again, we're going to hit on a little later, is the manager stopped coaching it. Again, after the executive alignment, the next, in my opinion, the most important thing is the manager level, and we'll talk more about that.
Yeah, 100%. I like this tip from Julie. Resistance when you're noticing low engagement in the training room. They're not offering, they're not engaging, cameras get turned off, people look bored. We all know the signs as trainers and facilitators. So that's an early indicator too. I love, Erik, how you shared with me that Allego focuses on early wins when we roll something out to make sure adoption starts high. Say more about that.
Yeah, look, adoption and enablement. Enablement's a lot of things, right? And whether it's the learning aspect, whether it's the content, whether it's digital sales rooms, whether it's AI role play, there's a lot of different enablement is now all encompassing in a lot of things. What we try to do, work with our clients, is try to find an easy win. So if you think of sellers and you say, "Hey, I'm going to do all this enablement training with you," that probably doesn't get them as excited. But if you think of things that do get them excited, if you think of digital sales room, which is a personalized microsite, if you're not familiar with them, and where the reps can actually track the activities of their prospects and customers. All of a sudden, they have visibility into stuff that they typically didn't have. So that is
Mhm.
a quick win. And a lot of times we'll try to lead with content and DSRs because we feel that that's a win for your sellers. Then you get them bought into kind of the vision of where we're going and why we need to do it. Another quick win area is anything involving their ability not to have to put stuff into the CRM. There's no sales rep that wakes up and goes, "I'd like to add some more information in the CRM today." It's the necessary evil of the last 25 years. So leveraging the tools that allow you to automate the process of the CRM updates, I think are two very quick wins that get the sellers engaged and keep them engaged.
Really good. And it might not be the number one reason you bought the Allego tool, but it's what's sexy to the reps. So you start there. And that's what's
Absolutely.
going to get your adoption. We do the same with training. It's we get called in to teach value selling for digital sellers a lot. And it's very tempting to start with foundational skills, right? Because they're sounding robotic or scripted, and you want to teach questioning basics and listening basics and build the foundation first, because that's good learning. Guess what? Not sexy, not going to move the needle quickly. So we start right away with our most famous class, the Swift Intro. Oh, Amy, we've got to put that link in later. Help me with that because we're doing a big demo of Swift Intro for a dollar. Anyway, it like doubles reps phone selling time quickly. And boy, do they get bought in after that. So then sometimes we have to go backwards, but start with what's sexy. So I really loved this point that Kyle brought up in the chat saying another issue is that managers like to bring something new, right? Again, it's fresh, it's sexy. Every one-on-one, we want to talk about something new. But we know that's not the way to build mastery. So how do we get around that? Well, first and foremost, we have to start by informing and training our leaders and frontline managers about mastery, right? Let's talk about the forgetting curve. Let's talk about how it takes weeks to build habits and ask for their partnership in focusing on this one skill for the next 2 to 4 weeks. That's how we roll things out every single time. Kyle, one of the ways we get around that is we might still be talking about value-based questions for the month, but in each huddle, we're giving managers new tools and fresh perspectives on that. Here is a new call to play that we all listen to. Here's a fun little video that comes at it from a different angle. Here's a new activity, right? So if you can freshen up the what and the how, but not the content itself, not the topic, then maybe that's a way to get past that. But keeping the communication alive and involving leaders in sharing its importance from as big a stage as possible is also key. And with that, I have a wonderful picture to share. Thank you, Marcus, for helping us sneak this in. Ladies and
Yes.
gentlemen, Erik Fowler, what the hell's happening here? What are you doing?
All right. So with any event, whether it's a kickoff or in this case, it was our customer event S3, you always think about trying to get energy and get people energized and excited. So myself and the co-founder of Allego, Mark Magnacca, we dressed up as the Enablement Brothers. And oh, I think I'm back.
He's back.
All right. I don't know what happened. I was a little
Yeah,
nervous.
don't move.
My screen was spinning the whole time, and I'm like, I'm not sure I'm still
Oh,
here. Uh,
I'm glad
but
you're
yeah,
back.
so we dressed up as the Enablement Brothers. We actually kicked off the event by coming out and actually singing the first few lines of Soul Man.
Okay.
And so why do you do that? Why do you have a theme? And then you start pivoting into what are your goals for a kickoff? And like you just said before, you have to have an event that kind of launches it, and that's where you really, quote unquote, kick it off. But
Yeah.
it's super important that you keep it simple. I've done a lot of kickoffs over the years. In my last company, we would do two a year. So I don't know how, and most companies do one a year. So I've
Kick
probably done
off, kick
40
forward.
of them,
Yeah, keep kicking.
mid-year kickoff. Uh, but what I've learned over the time is early on, we would try to do everything all at once.
Yeah,
And sometimes you accomplish nothing because you're trying to do everything. And it's just too much for people to just take in. And they're just not going to take anything with them. So what I've really done over the years is try to keep the themes simple. And I know anybody that's been to one of my kickoffs, I can literally say a few words, and they'll literally finish the statement because it's really kind of the theme for the year and
repetition.
kind of kicking off what you're trying to do.
Yes.
Uh, I see people, and I love this keynote turns into training. Like people think, oh, we're going to do everything in this keynote and you're going to learn everything and then you're going to go apply it.
Yeah.
And again, it's all about introducing concepts and then building a plan over the course of the rest of the year to implement those concepts that you've introduced. And then when you get to your next kickoff, really
Reinforce.
celebrate those wins that you had, and then double down with the theme for the following year. So, so it was fun dressing up as the Enablement Brothers. Yes, we got fake tattoos on our knuckles that said enablement.
I love it.
And now I feel like the bar has been raised for what
Well,
we're
yes,
gonna do next year.
more singing and dancing. Ashley shouting you out and saying you're fabulous. So I want to translate this a little bit. First of all, if you're millennials, go YouTube it. It's the Blues Brothers. Sorry that we're old. Yeah. But here's the other thing. Um, every revenue leader anywhere for all time will ask you to do 10 things at once in a third of the amount of time it takes to do it well. And it's your job as an enablement leader to respectfully push back. Okay. We get it all the time. Hey, I've got an hour on Friday. Let's do negotiation training and value selling. It's not going to work. And so we have to let them know that they are their own worst enemy. And right, that that's will not be a pretty baby if we do it this way. It's also our job to remind them at the next big team meeting, if whether it's a kickoff or not, hey, it's time to mention these things again. I need you to shout these out. I've literally written out scripts for executive to help us keep the momentum alive because, right, we go from fire to fire to fire. The typical behavior profile for a sales leader is a million things at once, drive, 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 and we forget what's in the rearview mirror. So help them keep that alive. When we do multi-year engagements, we have quarterly touch points with the executive who signed the contract because it's really easy for them to go and disappear. And we look, has the strategy changed? How are we measuring and celebrating wins and impact? And then reminding them, pull this through to the meetings with your managers, right? Here were the goals. Let's remind you why we're doing this again, right? Here's how we're measuring against success. Has anything changed? And you just keep proving that ROI in those ongoing touch points. So I love that you do the big thing twice a year. Keep it simple and keep hammering it.
The one
By the
thing.
way, let me just finish this and I'll pass it to you to close this up. That's the same for coaching. And I know that you know that, enablement leaders, right? Our managers are like, hey, we've just finished coaching a call. Here's 17 things to work on. Doesn't work. It's the same. Erik, close this up.
Yeah, yeah. The only thing I would add is we feel the same way, and I would say insist is a strong word. We highly encourage at least quarterly executive alignments and touch points, and we want exactly go through like what's working well, what's not working, where we need your help with. And it's a really quick way for us to know how our customer's tracking. If they're willing to do those quarterly touch points, then we know we've got a healthy customer. And if not, then I know things are getting deprioritized and we have to change the narrative a little bit.
100%. And by the way, I'm just going to add a little layer of credibility here. Erik and I were both previously revenue leaders who've come over to the light side for enablement. And so if you think they don't care or they're not going to give you that audience or it's not important to them, think again. This slide's going to tell you that there's more than just executives, right? Here are all of the people that make sense to involve as stakeholders. Erik, take us away on this one.
Yeah, it sounds funny. You're like, why do we need all these people involved? And I actually even think of it when I put it into like the sales cycle. If we have customers, we can close a deal that the revenue leadership team can probably drive through without engaging all these stakeholders. And we've had it happen to us in the past. And I really push back on that now because what happens is we get to implementation and then all of a sudden somebody from marketing gets on and they're like, well, what is this? Why am I here? And why are we rolling this out? And you
Yeah,
find yourself, oh my gosh, I'm reselling the value and it's my implementation team that's trying to resell the value and they're raising their hands and going, we have all these new people. So we push really hard, get this involvement early, get it in, and for us, get it in the sales cycle, get agreement, because what we don't want is to get into implementation and have stakeholders. And you can see there's a lot of stakeholders when it comes to enablement, that aren't aware, aren't on board. And again, don't have that alignment. And that just makes adoption so much harder. Now you can be successful going back and trying to coach those and re-educate those individuals and say, this is why you bought it. Or this is why your CRO bought it. And, the marketing team is
but
coming
it's
along
not
for
the
the
same.
ride. But
Yeah.
it's a lot better to do it early on and get everybody involved as you have a specific project in mind.
Give me a yes in the chat if you've had somebody on this list bomb one of your initiatives mid rollout and it's happened. If you're comfortable sharing the who it was who came in and blew it out of the water, it'll be interesting to see what we get as a little baby benchmark here. But I also want to, as you're talking about this, I love that you brought this in from the sales cycle point of view. But I want to remember us that we have internal sales cycles too,
Yep.
folks, right? As you're rolling out an initiative, it's a sales cycle. Okay. You have to gather the buy in from all of these different places. And of course, the bigger the initiative, the bigger the price tag, the more people involved. And that's how important it is. We try to make ourselves smaller sometimes so that we're not a PETA, which is pain in the ass, but we need to make it bigger. Okay. Go shop these ideas, get them involved. Even if you know exactly what you want it to look like, ask them what they want it to look like and help them think it's their idea. Never a bad idea. I'm looking at this. Which time, says Deb. Bless you, darling. I hear you. Hell yes. That's what we all want to say, Edward. This is great. It can be frustrating, absolutely. And sometimes it actually helps when they're involved early to make it better, right? So when we're rolling out new skills, but the CI tool is measuring something different, right? It's only going to make the adoption stronger if we can get the QA team or the tools and technology team or whoever owns that at your company involved from the beginning so that there's alignment. Sometimes there's somebody who's written a playbook, right? You've got an 800-page document that nobody reads. And then they hire us to come in and do skills training because it's not working. And the playbook person is like, that's not what I wrote. So we make sure they're in the room and feeling the energy and the buy-in so that they're updating the playbook as we go. And then we give them the training outputs. Hey, here was everybody's best intro. Here was our best overcome, XYZ competitor statements. Here are our best questions so that they can push it right into that playbook and bring it to life. All
One
right.
comment in the chat I just noticed real quick was Alex's comment, and I see that too, where well you're trying to include somebody and they don't show up, and then you agree as a company to move forward, and then they get in the starting process and they just blow it up. Uh, so my only advice when you get into those situations is force that hand early and say, hey, don't come to me and say this isn't what you wanted. This is it's speak now or forever hold your peace, and
We
have
do have to put that out there.
executive sponsors help push if it's the marketing person or the salesperson or
Right.
whoever to get on board.
Bingo. Bingo. For those of you who have to drop at halftime, we will send the recording out. There's some more really cool tools, etc., that you're going to get at the end of this. So make sure that you look for those action items. We talked about this one just a little bit already. Is there anything new we need to bring up on this one? All right. What's sexy first?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What makes the sellers feel a win? The sooner you
Mhm.
get them the win, the more buy-in you're going to get on the rest of the initiative.
Yeah, 100%. For my training people out there, here's another thing we do. You know that there's a gap that you've identified. They need ABC skill, right? Let's say it's building more value so that they're not selling on price later. And you know it's this because they asked you for negotiation training and they never actually need it. What they need is value earlier in the sales cycle, like old Ada adage. Um, Make sure that you start by playing a recorded call. I'll tell you what, when people are feeling, I don't want this, I don't need this, I know it, but you're not doing it. And you don't even have to say it when you play a few calls at the beginning of the training. Oh, look at that. All I did was qualify and no value. So another quick hack on building buy-in. All right, this is our favorite. Let's
All
talk
right.
about getting managers involved. I'm going to ask one more time to give me a yeah, a maybe, or a hell yeah if you struggle to align with frontline sales managers or any managers in your company to keep adoption alive and coach what you're rolling out. Feel free to add any of your own expletives to create your own 1 through 5 scale. Emojis are also very welcome. Erik, I know you're dying to start this. Go for it.
Yeah, this is the managers, especially in the sales side. I think it's one of the hardest jobs, the frontline manager. I think it's harder than my
Yes.
job. It's harder than being an individual seller. You're pulled in so many different directions all the time. Is your pipeline updated? Is this done? You need to do training. You need to do this. You need to do that. And really, it's one of I think, the hardest job in all of the jobs that I can think. Uh,
Erik, I'm going to pipe in and tell you the same thing.
yeah,
Right, I've been at all levels of enablement, all levels of revenue, and also now run 2 companies. Hardest job I ever had was frontline sales manager.
yeah, yeah. And so when you're rolling these things out, you need to think, all right, how do I engage really arguably the busiest group in the company to get their buy-in, to get them to help us with it, right? So selling them on it early, having them see the value it's going to bring to their reps, which in turn brings value to them. If it can pull back some of that manual reporting, if it can help with coaching. I think this is a huge one. Like I hear so many managers go, "Hey, how come you didn't coach? I ran out of time." Coaching is one of the most important things, and it goes to the back burner because I got to get on this call. I got to do this deal. I got to update my pipeline. I got to do this. So AI role play, if you haven't looked at it or evaluated it, take a look at it. There's a lot of companies out there that do it. We're one of them that does it, but it's a huge way to help accelerate your learning and save time. Uh, and again, time is how you sell these managers because time is one thing they do not have. They do not have. They will do anything to get time back.
Bingo. Yeah, right. That is the Swift value when it comes to managers. Um, I'm also going to tell you, enablement folks, everybody's looking at AI tools that are out there. Okay. AI role play and coaching is coming right to a corner near you, and you need to be involved. Right. So we have pre trained our AI on all of our curriculum. So when it listens to a call, it says, nice job on the Swift value, but you missed the Swift questions. Aligned. If what you're teaching is not built into the frameworks, there's no way you're going to get long term alignment. So I'm going to tell you a little story that when we used to roll out training in organizations, we would teach the reps, right? And then afterwards, we do a little 15-minute huddle with the managers. Hey, here's what we taught. Here's how to coach it. Go get it. We thought we were doing the right things by taking less time. Over the last 18 years, let me tell you what it's turned into instead. We start with them in the needs analysis. Even if we've already listened to all the calls and know exactly what they need, we're asking the managers what they need. We're building credibility and buy-in with them at this stage. Then we do a special kickoff with just leaders, where the executive tells the manager how important it is. Then we pull them all back together to a kickoff with the leaders, the managers, and the reps. So the reps can see that everyone is aligned. Now, and then we're going to do one more thing before we start saving managers time, because I know these are hard hours to get. We train the managers before we train the reps every single time. We call it coach the coach. We never do a rep training without it. And in this, it's like everything enablement people have ever wanted to say to managers, but weren't allowed to because they might grab them by the neck. It's how do you kill adoption? How do you support adoption? What to say? What not to say? Ways to reinforce. It's teaching them and some basic coaching skills so they don't F it up on the backside. Because you could have something gorgeous, the manager goes to coach it and they berate the rep, give them 20 things to work on, and it's over, man, right there. So we coach the coach, train the managers first. Now we do the rep training. And guess what? Afterwards, we bring back the reps and the managers for accountability sessions. We listen to calls, we coach it together, we calibrate it, we celebrate it, and those managers know if they're showing up without a call, they don't look so good in front of their peers. If they're showing up having not coached it with the form to prove it, they don't look so good in front of their peers. Peer pressure works. Now we start saving them time. And this is my point about make it fast and easy. If you want managers to do anything for you, fit it into their existing cadence. So when we're asking them to coach and to reinforce, we're giving them tools that save them time for their huddles, for their coaching, and for their team meetings. So that time I stole from you up front, I'm giving back to you on the other side. I used to spend all weekend creating the stuff for my team meetings on Mondays. And the team loved it, but crap, that meant I had to do it again the next weekend. So when we give them the tools from the sales bar, they have 30 seconds of prep. They are aligned, they're reinforcing, and I just save them time. So hopefully some of those things you can steal and make it a little bit easier. I'll also tell you making managers part of those quarterly leadership reports works wonders, not just attending, but presenting. Hey, frontline managers, you own this success. We're getting your VP into a room who wants to help us create this presentation and share success stories from their team. That's another way that they love that. Help them look good. All right, we ready to move on? Shot number 7, we're getting a little woozy.
Yeah.
People use what they practice. So again, if you're trying to get adoption with a skill and or a tool, The key is getting hands-on fast. I used to spend a lot of time doing audits of new hire training programs. And 9 out of 10 of them spend most of their time on product and systems. And only about 50% of them actually got hands on with the systems. So if you're standing in front of a room of people who are not on systems and showing them how to do anything, here's how you open a digital sales room, and they're not doing it themselves, you have zero chance at adoption. Okay. You have to get hands on ASAP. If we're talking about a skill, it's a role play. You know, they love it. But people remember what they do. So the small groups, the adult learning, the interaction, the role play, it's critical. Even if they're playing the customer, right? That helps. We do triads. Erik, you're the customer. Lauren, you're the rep. And Marcus, you're the coach. And we switch. It's that simple. All right, Erik, what do you want to add into this?
Yeah, I would just say that the ability to do these kinds of practice sessions with the technology changing so quickly is now reps can practice on their own in a safe space by doing it with an avatar, right? And then you can have an avatar, which is the customer, and then you can have an avatar come in as your coach. And it's really impressive how far the technology's come in. And by the way, I'm sure a year from now, we're going to be even more impressed of what it can do. Uh, but I know there's always a reluctance from sellers of getting in that room. So if they can reinforce and practice it in what we call kind of the safe space, it makes them a lot more confident. Doesn't mean they're not going to have to get in that room, but if they can practice in advance, it helps.
Yes, 100%. I'm loving the comments in here. Thank you, everybody, for sharing with the rest of your community in here and how this is working with leaders first and then managers. Christy talking about every manager on the team as first adopters. It's brilliant. Kyle, you have to script the critical moves for your leaders. Yeah, you do. You got to script it. I jokingly say sometimes here's what we have to say, leaders, in this. Make it easy for them. They're focused on 200 other things, right? Tell them exactly what to do, why, remind them of the goals, and tell them what to say. Okay. Reduce the time to use is another thing we do. So I love it, especially when we're on live somewhere. We'll teach something like the biggest gap, remember Mind the Gap from the Tube in London, is between the classroom, whether it's virtual or in person, and the sales floor, right? Or whatever arena that may be for you. So do it live during training. We teach a skill, we practice it, and then we literally go get on the phones. We do it live with the customers. Why? Because we're speeding adoption, we're gathering small wins, we're getting right past that resistance. Now, Erik, your point, the introverts hate me for that. They would rather practice with their avatar, and maybe we give them an opportunity to do that instead before live calling the customer. But we've got to get it into practice fast. And what's fun then is you come back in the room and celebrate.
Yeah.
Who got a meeting? Who got a this? And wow, does your buy-in and adoption go up? So
Yeah.
find the small things to celebrate, right? Even if it's who beat the avatar customer, right? Celebrate it. Get it into gamification, get it into communications, get it into huddles, and you can help leaders do that with some of the reporting, even some of the success stories if you're out on the floor coaching and watching.
Yeah. Just to
All right,
double
Rich.
down, just so I was clear, the AI coaching does not replace live coaching. It's a
Oh, but
supplement.
it can supplement, and it
Yeah,
should.
absolutely. And especially for those people that get nervous about doing it live, it's a chance for them to practice it.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. And supplementation is critical because nobody gets to coaching, right? It's not on fire. Okay. So don't change everything at once. Erik, go ahead and start us off here.
Yeah. I mean, why not? Let's just rip it out, throw it in, and I'm sure it'll work perfect. And we've talked about this before. Like, it's super, look, enablement is a lot of different things now, right? It used to be learning, and now it's the entire life cycle. And so it's important to, again, start small. Don't try to do it all at once. Don't be like, we're going to rip up our learning. We're going to do new content. We're going to build digital sales rooms. We're going to add call intelligence. We're going to do AI role play. It's just, you're not going to be successful. So a lot of our customers buy us for the vision of one suite with all of the products, but then we literally map out where are we going to get those wins? How are we going to get buy-in? And let's take it one thing at a time. Start small, reinforce, build the habit. So as you roll out other things, they realize the value they're going to get. And of course, measure the engagement, making sure they look at it and then scale it over time. I mean, sometimes a successful rollout, phase one might be the first couple months, but if we're doing full enablement, it could take 6 to 8 months based on the doing it at the right pace and pulling pieces out at a time. So that's my
Perfect. I was
feedback on
going to
that.
ask you for your timeline. We do exactly the same thing with training. You can see why we're friends and partners, right? So you're looking for XYZ to change. If it's prospecting, it's value, it's closing, whatever it is. There's going to be a 6 to 12 month rollout on this sucker because we're in the attention economy. You're not going to get it all up front. It has to exist over time so that we build habits. That's all there is to it. I want to shout out to Blaze here in the comments. He's like, this needs to be a bigger focus for managers. Like, if you can't go immediately role play it live with a customer, if you can't go immediately to your AI avatar because you don't have it, the manager needs to be the one saying, let's get it applied on the next applicable call.
Yeah.
We couldn't agree more. If only we could send you in to every shop to make sure that that happens. Right. And by the way, Blaze is an incredible revenue leader and does that level with his team, right? He holds them accountable. But my friend, you are one in a million. Let's talk about measurement. Okay, sales shot number 9, proving the ROI. There's so much, right? There's so much. I'm going to give you a resource next on a ton of sales KPIs that you can measure. But let's start with tools, Erik. This is your wheelhouse. What are we measuring with tools?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the biggest one, it's always easy to tell, all right, how many people are actually going in? How are they using the platform? How are they using it? And we have reports all the time and we look at it and it's some red flags for us too. Like if we're not getting adoption, we know and we sit down with the customer and client. Then beyond that, you really want to look at time savings. I think that's the easiest one that you can find some quick wins for, and help really justify the value. Because I know a lot of enablement leaders are coming up for, let's say, renewals, and in the unusual economy we're in, I'm not sure if it's good, bad, or awful, or whatever it is.
Depends on who you
No,
listen to.
yeah, nobody's out just throwing dollars at everything. So you really need to be able to justify the spend. So I think it's super important that you're measuring each one of these different components and are able to show, hey, look at the activity, look at the coaching, look at look at how we're ramping the reps, look at their time to productivity, whether it's an SDR, whether it's an AE, whatever it may be. You need to be looking at all these components and then tying it back to the enablement functions because you will get, if you're not getting them now, every business is out there looking for ways to save. And it's important that you're able to show the value because we all know it's valuable, but if you can't demonstrate it quantitatively, you might
There's the
get
number.
pressure on some of the spend that you're doing.
Um, we need hard numbers, folks. That's the start and the stop. We need hard numbers. I got to tell you, my team will tell you that I talk about this every meeting. I love that you got great reviews. I love that there was high energy. I love that everybody said you were the next coming. I want the numbers. Show me what lifted. And you have to sometimes get creative, especially for the early wins. So grab and scan this QR code because this is a blog that literally lists up to 100 different things you can measure. Pick 3, then go talk with your sales leaders and align on what the right ones are. But for my enablement friends who didn't grow up in sales, you don't know what you don't know. Okay. So you can cheat sheet speak their language by grabbing some of these. You want early indicators, right? Before you're getting to revenue and some of those lagging indicators. So hopefully this is very helpful for everybody. Go get a hard number one way or another. All right, we're going to start wrapping this up. I think we got one last shot and of course a chaser. Adoption is never done. Erik, you start us off here.
I just was thinking on the last slide, and I was just waiting for you to start yelling, "Show me the money!" And then I'm like, "All right, I've already quoted the
Don't think I
Blues Brothers. Now I'm doing
haven't.
Jerry Maguire. I've got to get some
Google
newer
it,
movies.
folks.
But this like we actually we kind of coined the phrase, onboarding to everboarding because
Yeah.
onboarding is never done. But it's the same concept here, right? Adoption is never done. It's a continuous thing. And if you think there's an and end, then that's not good because there's never an end. It just continues to morph, it continues to grow, continue to build on it, right? So keep the leaders involved, keep the managers involved, making sure you're reinforcing with them the value and why they're doing it. Make sure the reps quickly see the value. The sooner they see the value, the easier it's going to be to drag them through maybe the things they don't want to do as much as the things they want to do. I don't want to put any time into my CRM. I want visibility in what my customers are doing. Eat quick, easy wins. Tracking progress. It's important that you do that, but keep in mind that it's like the carrot or the stick, right? It's much better to get people to come willingly. Sometimes you got to use a little bit of the stick, progress reports and stuff like that. Uh, I love this one. Habits replace launches, right? If you don't build the habit, then you're going to be continually relaunching. We're going to relaunch enablement. We're going to relaunch enablement, right? If you're saying that, then I think you really got to take a hard look at kind of the overall program. So it becomes part of your DNA.
Yeah, and those are the words to start using. Everboarding, habits, and DNA. That's really key. Leah, I'm going to answer your question because I can't type fast enough. She's saying, how many metrics should you be visibly tracking on a salesperson's dashboard? I would love it if our crowd can source this. The folks who are with us still, give us a number of what's on there. I'll tell you, and I want to hear Eric's too, right? You want a couple leading, a couple mid pipeline, and a couple lagging so that right? And it's going to depend on role. Eric, what do you think?
Yeah, I look,
Is that
you
four?
can you can track too much. You can become overwhelmed. It's a fine balance. Find the ones that are going to drive the needle, again, leading and then post, because someone's going to come to you at some point and say, what are we getting for this enablement budget, right? We're investing this in people and technology. What are we getting for that? You've got to be able to answer that. But and keep it simple, I think is the best answer.
Hopefully, you can align what you are rolling out with a metric that's already on the dashboard. But if not, let's make those folks your best friends and get one on there that is, or get it in your ambition celebration, put it on Slack wins and tacos, whatever you got to do. Here's our bonus chaser. And then I got a couple really cool offers and resources for you. So, more is not better. It is the attention economy, and everybody's overloaded, and people can create all kinds of content fast.
So fast.
Doesn't mean it's good, doesn't mean you want more. So just because you can doesn't mean you should. Relevance is the name of the game now. I'm also going to remind you that probably at least 1 out of 3 that requests that you get as a trainer, right, for the skills enablement is not an enablement problem. It's an expectations problem. It's a systems, a tools, a measurement, a feedback, a compensation, or reward and recognition. Okay? Reps will always follow the path of least resistance to the dollar. And if there's a way to get around using all of your tools slash skills slash whatever, they'll take it. So we have to look at the big picture. I use the human performance improvement model to check these things in a needs analysis before we get on site. Last week, we were in Detroit with our friends at Infinity, and we were working on an outbound campaign to homeowners. These folks have had tremendous success for their client, but we knew that we could do better. We knew what we wanted to train after listening to calls, analyzing with AI, talking to managers, all the things that we've talked about. But before we started, we went on site and we learned that we didn't realize these folks were paid by the hour, which meant when they came to our training, they didn't want to freaking be there. They were losing money. So we fixed it last minute by adding and changing the comp over the next week and adding spiffs and bonuses. It can be as simple as that can block success. So keeping it simple is key. Any final points on this one, Erik?
No, I think you hit it right on the head, but the one at the end is the most important. Keep it simple, bite-sized, consumable chunks. Don't overwhelm everybody, or you're going to have exactly what Edward said was a problem.
Yeah. Yeah. I also like to pull, not push to training. Okay. When you deliver great stuff and you make it optional, they learn it's great stuff and they keep coming because you're right. They are overloaded. All right, I'm going to give you a couple resources. The first one is we're all frustrated by managers not coaching, and I have a resource. Once a year, we do an open enrollment cohort for manager development. Guess what? Managers want to be trained and developed, and 70% of companies don't provide it, right? If you're the enablement person, you're buried in the reps and in the everything else. Do you have a manager program? I do. We usually do it on site with companies when they have five, six, or more managers. You can enroll one person in this, and they're going to be sitting alongside Fortune 500 companies. It's a 5 month cohort, manager coaching, driving performance with goals, hiring. And believe me, we dig deep into the coaching. We are going to deliver you back a believer who is a skilled coach. We're also going to get them a revenue leader mentor during this time. It is a crazy, successful, award winning program, and you can put one person in at a time. I think we've got 7 spots left. We kick off next month. That's a big deal. Erik, what do you want to tell them about what resources are we going to be sending time to them?
Yeah, if anyone's interested in learning more about Allego's enablement suite of products, click that, reach out to me directly, click on the link, request a demo. Everybody's somewhere in a cycle, and we'd love the opportunity to partner with you and just share more with what we can help you with.
Good. If you want to walk through adoption, you need some help, go ahead and book time with me. I'm happy to do it. And I have a really special announcement. And I can't believe I saved this till last, but this just happened last night. So, Factor 8 has been designated a certified apprentice trainer. Now, what does that mean? You know, like a welder and, those the apprentice programs, there's a sales apprenticeship. It's new. We're a certified provider. Why do you care? Because there's grant funding for your training. So if you wish you could roll out a really like comprehensive 6, 12 month program, all these right ways, but you don't have budget or bandwidth, I will tell you that it goes very fast. It is first come, first serve. Last year, we gave away over $500,000 worth of training. So I've asked Amy to drop a link in about that. We'll put it in the follow up email as well. And I just want to thank you for the wonderful participation today. If you've got more questions, we'll hang out for a couple minutes. Well, I will. Erik won't. He's off to meet a train. And
I'm taking the jacket.
right
I'm
here he
changing.
goes.
I'm ready to go
So
see
happy.
my son.
I'm so happy for you. Have a wonderful, wonderful reunion. I'm going to stay here for a minute if you want to chat in any questions. Super, super happy to help. Erik, tremendous insights. Thank you for sharing real stories of what's working with your customers.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Always a pleasure, Lauren. I enjoyed it. Let's do this again sometime soon. Thank you,
That
everybody.
sounds like a blow off, doesn't it? Let's do this again sometimes.
I
Have you
guess.
never watched Friends? That's what Chandler says at the end of a date.
This,
Enjoy your
well,
son tonight, Erik.
thanks, guys.
See you later.